Today, my guest is Caren Paskel. She's a spiritual advisor, a published author, and she's created her own community and movements. Caren, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited because we've been connected for a while, but we've never really had the type of conversation that we're going to have today. And I think, as I looked back at when we first connected, it was Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi's Time to Thrive in August last year, 2022. We've been keeping tabs on each other, exchanging a couple of messages. I've been seeing what you've been doing with your group and the support that you've been providing. But I think there's a number of interesting topics for us to dig into today. But before all that, I've done a quick introduction, but I want to hear from you. How do you position yourself, the world, the universe, everything that we have around us? What is it that makes sense for you in terms of, I am Caren, this is what I do, this is who I am?
Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful question. And thank you for the beautiful introduction. I have this feeling and a calling to just say a lot more after this, but in a way, I am nothing and I am everything all at the same time. And that's true freedom. It's just no ego and just kind of oneness with cosmic energy, with energy. We all are energy. There's no separation. But when there is separation, or we believe there is, that's where the prison we live in and the limits. And so when we want to live an unlimited or limitless life, it's just recognizing that we are really nothing but energy, but at the same time, we are everything because energy is what has the limitless potential. So that's what I think of myself. But I can't go into regular conversations like that because people might think that I'm absolutely crazy. So we get there if it's the right person who's wanting to work with me. But what I like to name myself so that it helps people understand what I do is I say I'm a spiritual advisor. And it was so funny because last night I was at a 4th of July barbecue at my parents' country club. And we saw like somebody who knew us for forever, some person, and we were all talking to this person and they looked at me and said, "Man, I haven't seen you for so long. Like, what do you do?" And I said that I was a spiritual advisor. And my dad, who is not Mr. Positive, by the way, he's a skeptic. He's 80 years old. He's a lawyer. So just imagine, right? And there's always an argument with him. And what he said was, "Doesn't everyone need spiritual advising?" And then he said, what she does is brings out the spirit in everybody she's around and working with. And I had tears in my eyes. I had my heart melted because I know that he doesn't necessarily know that from my clients and community. He's not involved in that, right? But he knows that from his own experience of being with his transformed daughter, because I bring out the spirit in him and he has the best time. The best parts of him come out when we're together. So I can just say that that's the description probably best of what I do. And in doing so, I have built a beautiful self-evolution community and mentorship program with, online trainings, of course, and personal one-on-ones. And what I'm now opening up to is really how big of an impact, positive impact, can I make through leadership and building leaders up and transforming individuals so that it's a light leadership, it's called, where everywhere you go, no matter where you are, even at home, you're emitting this frequency of light, of love, of service, of peace, and it inspires other people. So people wake up just from this energy to this idea that you are absolutely limitless in your potential and you can be great. You don't have to take the mediocre path. There's a path of greatness and there's people on it. And when you're around that energy, you will be elevated and amplified. So I am happy to just say that this next level of expansion is I started a nonprofit called Spiritual Education Foundation. And I have no idea. I'm living in a land of uncertainty. I'm not exactly 100% sure how this is going to go, but it's set in place. It's It's recognized by the government. I've got all the papers, the bank accounts. I even have a donation button on my website. And so now I am working with a beautiful mentor who is going to help me with this beautiful business and fundraising. And I'm just excited and a new adventure that's going to create, again, more positive impact.
Amazing. Yeah, it's great to hear you've got to that point where you're now able to do other things. And I guess that's something I want to touch on in a little bit there, because obviously part of this is about freedom, finding it, what it means to you. But the comment that you made there about your father, as you were talking about that situation, I really thought your comment was going to be, yeah, he put a downer on everything and was like, okay, just because of the way that you teed him up as, 8-year-old lawyer, hard-nosed type personality. And I was like, okay, so yeah, he's not necessarily going to see this. But it raises an interesting point of relationships. And you've been talking about energy. Now, there are those relationships that fuel us and those that drain us. How have you managed that within your own life? And what sort of situations have you had to deal with?
Oh man, this is a hot topic. We could probably talk. I could write a book on this one. And I will tell you this, I have done so much work on myself to have the beautiful, positive, uplifting relationships that I have. And I don't look any longer, because I kept thinking in my mind when I would say, this is toxic, this is draining, that there was a negativity in even saying that. And there was also a judgment. And I called myself out because I felt the stress, I felt the agitation just from saying that alone. And so I recognized there's something in me. I'm allowing myself to be drained in the presence of these people. And I'm allowing myself to invite them in and work with me. So that's on me. And so I have to recognize and be very, very cautious of the red flags, the alerts that it's not a perfect fit. And I don't manipulate anybody. I never have or tried, but I used to think I could really change everyone. So even if this person didn't seem like a great fit, I could change them. And that's actually egotistical. That's so I realize I can only inspire. I can only activate, and empower others. I can educate, but the true word, etymologically, if you break down education, means to draw out, not to push in. So I just, the embodiment and the wisdom that I'm living from my experience, I don't give what I don't have, only what I do have and what I am, right? I share that. And that's what evokes others to make their own changes. And so we co-create. Now I have, with love, I am able to say no, thank you, or remove myself from a certain group or a certain relationship, let's say, again, with love in my heart, so that I'm not putting myself in a place of draining myself. No one has the power to drain you. Only you do. And in learning that, now, I love my family so much. And at one time, I felt drained by everyone. And now I don't. So how is that possible? They didn't really change much, And so it was me who decided, how am I going to relate is the big question. And I just decided to relate differently from a place of love and acceptance, not trying to get anyone to do anything for me or be a certain way or believe in a certain thing or even understand me. I just wanted everyone to understand me for so long, And then I learned in, I think I have the book right here, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read about effective communication. Work to understand. And when you are understanding someone else, most of the time, they start to understand you too. So that's a little bit about the relationships. But I even helped my mentors. I remember he was staying at a family member's and he said something like, I'm trying really hard to help my parents with their finances, with their retirement. And I said, stop trying. They're in a different generation, because he was feeling stressed and drained. And it was this huge, beautiful aha moment between both of us. We're like, nobody can drain us, because that means we're giving our power away. So if someone doesn't want our help and guidance, that's the biggest thing. Do not try to give it because that will drain you. And I've released, I've told you before we even got on this call, I said, I have been releasing all of it's not an, I'll say this, if it's not an energetic alignment. So it's not even, I used to say low vibration, high vibration. Again, it's kind of a label and a judgment. So just like the energy isn't aligned, and I can really feel that in my soul. It's not, there's like, it's beyond emotion and it's beyond logical thinking. It's beyond, there's something in you so much deeper that's enlivening your spirit, right? You're me to speak right now to you. I don't even know what it is. It's there. It's why we're alive. And I listen and tune into that every morning in my meditation. And that's what lets me know I can say no to things, even if they seem amazing for someone else. I know when they're not in alignment. And when I know relationships are not in energetic alignment with my highest good, I say no, thank you, or I remove myself with love. And there's never any judgment. I keep my doors open all the time.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great to hear that, because, and I want to touch on this in a minute, having got to that place now where you feel comfortable in those sorts of situations, actually, you don't make judgments, okay? You make a decision, yes, but it's not necessarily from a place of judgment. It's, okay, the alignment's not right, the energy's not right, not feeling it, okay, I know how I as an individual want to react and the action that I want to take. And I think that's a key thing for people listening, is to say, ultimately, it still comes down to you.
Yes.
What's the decision that you make? How do you feel?
Yes. Every single time I've ever, and that was my whole existence for over 30 years of blaming others, complaining and blaming. And I actually enjoy speaking about my weaknesses because I've overcome them. And luckily enough, I was blessed to have an incredible human being, my late husband, who passed away a couple of years ago. It's going to be 3 years in October. And he was that person who shared that feedback. And I wanted it. And he said, you're complaining and it's draining you. Go stop complaining and go figure this out. And I was so appreciative because I was spoiled growing up. And when I was unhappy or something wasn't working or I couldn't do it, everybody took care of me. And the more I complained about it, the more they helped me. So the less I was empowered to learn and build skills, right? So now I empower myself every day, and I do not ever, I ask for help when needed, but I know that I'm not supposed to do this all on my own, but the kind of guidance that I invest in is different than, hey, will you do this for me because I don't believe in myself enough to do it, or I don't know how to do this, right? It's like, no, I just coded on my website. I would never have believed I could have ever done. I'm putting plugins in there. Who is this person? I don't know, but it's someone who believes in myself. So yes, it is really empowering to take, and Tony Robbins says this, right? Radical responsibility. Instead of saying, why me? Why is this happen? Or feelings of lack and unworthiness, or the world, right? We blame the world, the pandemic. I turned my whole life around in the pandemic. I literally reinvented myself and my entire business. So instead of blaming the world, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I have to shut my studio down. Oh, my husband's dying. I just said, I am enough. I have more than enough. I am limitless potential, and I am abundant, and I am free. And I just opened up for that, and one thing after another, one inspired action after another, and building those, like you said, the very positive and energetically aligned relationships. And when you do that, the ones that aren't aligned, they just automatically drop off, go away. And you don't want to resist that and try to keep someone on who's saying, this isn't right for me. Say, thank you so much and goodbye with love. So it's just been a purification. And when that happens, you get more energy and you're more empowered to be yourself. when you're around the world, when you're around strangers, I just had a man, I walked by him the other day. This just happened. I've known him for years, and I saw him walking his dog. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. He was in my neighborhood instead of the one across the street. And so I said to him, "How have you been?" This man would not look at me. He just stone faced me and just did not say a word, kind of like turned away. And I said, "Happy 4th of July." Nothing, not even a nod, absolutely nothing. And I just giggled as I walked away because I didn't take it personally. That's the key. That's the chain that I needed to break, is I kept taking things personally, and I'd feel bad every time. And I was like, I don't want to feel bad, even if it's my family member who decides not to talk to me or says something in a way, or we get into an argument, whether it's a client who doesn't want to work with me or asks for a refund, whether it's someone on Facebook who says some horrible things or leaves a bad review. I give that person love because I know that they're hurting. And so I don't take that on. And I just am able to let go and keep moving. I take radical responsibility for my own happiness and my own freedom. No one else is to blame, not anyone or the world.
Interesting couple of comments there. Okay, we've touched on the journey there, and obviously the situation that you found yourself in, and what you've moved through. But it sounds now like you've found freedom. What does that actually mean for you? You know, when I talk about freedom, for me, it's okay. Yes, location is one. Okay, you know, I like to experience different things and go to different places. Freedom has always been one of my highest level values, which is why I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 16. Now, that's been highs and lows all the way along, but there's been a level of freedom in the fact that I've been able to almost pick and choose some of the things that I've worked on or that I've turned down, and you know, what sat well with me in terms of how I want to use my time and energy. But for you, what does freedom mean? What does it look like? What have you been able to I guess, achieve is not quite the right word, but what have you been able to, you know, experience, or that the point that you're at now where you define, okay, this is freedom for me right now? What does that look like?
Well, it looks like this. I am able to have a 2 to 4 hour morning routine for myself. I wake up automatically between 4 and 6 a.m. It's the most calming time of day mentally, if you think about it universally, right? It's quiet. Everyone gets into the hustle bustle around 6 a.m. So I learned this from my gurus, but I just automatically wake up and I utilize this time because it's best for contemplation. It's best for writing. It's best for meditation. And so I have developed a meditation for myself. And I can share about that another time or later if we have time, and exactly what I do. But it's anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And some of it's guided, and then I guide the rest of it. And after my meditation, I also study and reflect, contemplate on some eternal values or truths of life. They could be Eckhart Tolle, it could be Stephen Covey, it could be my gurus, Swamiji and Sanandaji. So any writings that are truths, that are eternal values that I can live by, that I want to live by and practice every day, that I teach as well. I take the time to put my eyes and my mind to absorb the actual teaching, the concept, and soak it into my every cell so that it sticks with me and I can live it. And then I leave my daily inspiration. I have a program on Telegram application where it's a group of people who've signed up for daily inspiration. There's 7 minutes. And so I'm so tuned in and I'm so present after the meditation reflection that I leave my daily inspiration because it's come to me. I've been inspired at that time, and it inspires me as well. So it's part of the meditation. And I always, move my body. So if it's indoors, outdoors, if it's a quick workout, a longer one, if I'm swimming, if I'm running, and I also always am in nature. So unless it's lightning out there, I'm going to take my dog for a walk. And sometimes I go to the woods. Sometimes it's just around the neighborhood, but every day I'm in nature because that is very spiritual for me. That's a very spiritual, connecting action. And I nourish myself. So, and I write that this is my morning every single day. And I just decided that I'm worthy of having that because I realized my mornings were kind of rushed and I'd have a client. I now don't talk to any of the clients I advise until 11 a.m. And I only talk to one or two possibly a day because I want to give everything 100% service to that person. And that is a lot of energy for me. And I want to also be able to be free in the kind of day that I have. So whatever I'm working on creatively, if I travel, I can do my work remotely. You said location. I'm in this beautiful home that I have a private yoga studio in. So yoga classes are in my house that I teach and that a couple of my teachers come. I get to take yoga in my own home. This is freedom. It's simple living, actually. I've simplified. Things were complicated in my business. I just got rid of all the extra applications. So I maybe have one or two platforms that I'm working with that all works together. Again, purified, simplified. I can run my business on my own. Now, as it grows, that may change. And I have mentors and I've invested in working together, collaborating, but I run a one-woman show here. I want to be able to do that so that as I expand, it's easy for me to expand in different ways. I can, like I said, I have my time, my white space is ridiculous. So I can work on whatever I want to work on and still serve at a really high level. I only have a few clients, like not even 10 that I work with, because I know that will take away my time and energy if I have more. So they're clients who are investing 25, 30, 50, $100,000 to work with me, long-term committed clients. And then I have these other applications, right? And these other yoga groups and things that people can be around, but it doesn't take more of my time and energy. I'm already doing them for the community. So I lead masterminds and also community support calls, and I live stream them in my private Facebook group. I'm not sure if you're in it, but it's called Self Evolution Forum.
Yeah.
And so my clients have access to the Zoom call, right? But then when we live stream, anyone can join live, anyone can leave comments, rewatch later. So they're getting the value and they're getting the energy of what I'm already giving. And so I'm not giving away more time and energy. This is just a way to make a greater impact. So I figured all that out and I had to do it. I had to get involved with so much to realize that that's not what creates freedom. It's actually living with integrity. It's being able to say no to a lot of things. And it's doing what I absolutely love. One of my mentors said to me, "What could you do all day long and you would never get bored?" This. I could just talk about freedom and spiritual development and evolution all day and never get tired of it. So that's what I thought. How do I do that all day, for myself and with others? And that's what's created freedom for me. So I have the location, I have the time, and the abundance financially, that just comes with when you stop wanting, expecting, and needing and craving and yearning. It just effortlessly flows to you because what you've done is you've decided to do something so good that matches the needs of others. So it's not just about you, it's impacting others. And you see this, right? And you get to celebrate. And when we stick to that, abundance naturally flows in. The other piece of freedom for me is health that I have just come into. I was unhealthy. I had chronic fatigue inflammation, digestive issues. I was in pain every day. Again, I complained about it every day. I believed that it was my parents. It was this from my past that happened. It was this kidney infection that I had. It was all the antibiotics I was on. And then I took radical responsibility, and I was like, wait a second. I have everything inside of me that's healing. I am, energy is healing. I'm energy. I can heal myself. And I just stopped believing the BS that I was feeding myself. I completely am the pinnacle of health right now. I have not been sick in over a year. This is unheard of. The air quality is said to be horrible. I have no issue, no problem with it. And my immune system, that I've had doctors tell me, you only have half immune system. Like, you are going to get way sicker than other people. You need to be on all these supplements. You've got this, that, and the other. I now have a rock solid immune system. And I can tell you, because I'm freaking grateful for everything that was, for everything that is, for everything that will be. I'm reveling in gratitude. It sounds so simple, like we can just be grateful, but most of the time we get away from gratitude. We get those feelings of limiting beliefs and lack and unworthiness, and we blame the world and we complain. That takes away your gratitude. So if you're constantly grateful, there's no room for going in that other direction. And gratitude stimulates your immune system. There's been studies, Joe Dispenza talks about this in all of his books. Like, there's literal scientific studies taken, blood samples taken of the chemistry of your body and your immune system in 4 days of people being grateful. Their immune system 50% increased. That blows my mind. So this is freedom for me, is just coming into the full. And again, my book is called The Power of Self-Belief. And to be honest with you, when I wrote that book, I'm now a transformed person from that time. I've come into the super full belief, because I still thought, well, maybe I'll have these health issues or something, and I realized limiting beliefs. So I catch them. And like you said, there's never like perfection. I'm never like, oh, I've got it all and this is it. And that's what keeps me free, is I'm always learning. I'm always opening for growth and transformation in every moment of every single day, because the minute you think you're done and you know it all, see, that wipes out humility, right? You're no longer humble. So that's also, I'm 45. I think that I look very young. I feel very young. I'm never sick. I'm vibrating in health. I'm the happiest I've ever been. So how is that possible? Because I actually believe fully in myself, and I have no agitations. That's the big component. I'm just not stressed, worried, or anxious anymore. And that's how I was for, I would say, 40 years, a full 40. And now at 45, it's like only just peace exists. It's nothing ever bothers me. I just laugh it off. I don't take it personally. I know that it's part of learning, and I keep those shutters open for my learning. And that's what keeps you young.
Yeah, just listening to you there, I think it fills, I guess, me with gratitude just listening to you as well, because I would say I'm a couple of steps behind where you are currently. Okay, so you've got to that point where no negative thoughts. You catch yourself every time you think about it. You're fully in alignment with yourself. You've got the gratitude practices and all of that. For me, I know the power of self-belief. So part of my backstory, healed a broken neck. But because of where I am currently, it's still highs and lows of certain things. The work that I do, some of it is still project-based, which means sometimes there are frustrations with a client or a project, and timelines and, getting approvals and all those sorts of things. So for me, yes, generally, I'm in a much better position than I was, 3 years ago in terms of self-belief, mental state, and everything that goes with that. But I'm still on that journey of saying, okay, how can I reposition, reframe the way that I approach situations, how I catch myself as well, and say, that's a negative negative belief, negative thought, it's not going to help me. Okay, how do I move away from that? So I think it's great for people to hear that you've been through that. You're almost, to, I guess, paraphrase to an extent, you're out the other side. You now feel more comfortable with everything that is happening, why it happens, and you have that belief to continue taking you forward. So it's great to hear that that is, your experience and what you've been through. And one of the other things I just want to I guess, explore, you explained what freedom is for you, and it sounded like time freedom was one of the, if we had to rank them, time, I got a sense that was the biggest one for you. Location, you've got that flexibility and freedom if you want it, but actually it sounds like you choose to stay in one location the majority of the time rather than travel around. So potentially, my assessment would be location is less of a priority. You don't necessarily want to move, but time is a key thing for you. How did you get to that realization?
It's knowing yourself. That's what it is. Like, I have a certain nature, a certain personality, and everybody's slightly different. My way of living isn't for everybody. I work with a lot of beautiful people who are not self-employed. So they go to work at a certain time, they have to be there, whether it's in home or at work. And they actually love it. They enjoy that, and they enjoy kind of something being scheduled for them. I do not. And I knew that years ago. And that's why I think I was an artist, and I went into yoga teaching, because it was more of, I didn't live off of someone else's schedule. And I had a lot of time in between to spend with myself and quality time with me to be at my best, right? So it's knowing yourself. And if you're that kind of person, see, I've always been more introverted, interestingly enough. Now, I use that as a way of hiding out and staying small. But now the introvertedness of spending quality time with me and working on myself to be my best version, because listen, you come into the world alone, you leave alone, and along the journey, people, places, and things come and go, but you're with you. You're stuck with you the whole time. So you better love the hell out of yourself. You better be your own soulmate. You better be your fulfillment, because if you're not, no one will ever be that for you, because they're subject to change and they will come and go and you will be crushed. So I knew that I needed the kind of lifestyle and schedule where I could be and feel at my best. And I knew how much time. It might not take 4 hours for some people. I don't want to rush in the morning. I want my time to meditate. I want my time to reflect and study. I want my time to move my body and go in nature, and then serve my clients, or make a mastermind or whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of work that I actually do, but it's coming from a place of being present and happy and peaceful. And that's why it doesn't seem like work anymore. So that's like where you were, I was. And there's like this other way, right? You're like, I know I want to help people, but I'm feeling stressed. So how can I get to this other side of total freedom? And the more you're open to working and being around people who have it, like you said, I'm interested always, and that's why I invest in myself to be around mentors. You've done this, you've achieved this. I want that energy. I know it's possible being around you, and that elevates. So by you reaching out to me and saying, I think you're a couple of steps ahead, that actually is going to lift you up to that level of life and living.
Which I think is an interesting point, because, okay, we're on a similar journey. We're trying to find freedom, because, freedom constantly changes as things happen in our life, and, we reassess what things mean to us. I think it's an interesting point there that you've made of looking for those people and trying to surround ourselves with the people who are one step ahead. You mentioned some of the work that you do is with people who are in a 9 to 5 and they feel comfortable with that and they like having, a schedule or stuff in the calendar and some structure. In your experience of working with them, what is it that they are looking for? What does freedom mean for them? And how do they then interact with you? If I guess is there that gap between you are at a point of freedom, which is right for you, you've identified it. They are in a 9 to 5, and are they searching for the same freedom? Is it a different type of freedom that you're helping them achieve because they're someone who needs structure? I'm interested to just explore that and understand, because obviously there may be people listening to this who are like, you know what? Yes, I am that 9 to 5er. I need that structure. If I've got no structure, I'm hopeless. Okay, so I need that. But how can I achieve freedom? What does freedom potentially mean for me if I'm that type of person? So I'm just interested to explore that and I guess listen to the experiences that you've had of working with some of those types of people.
Well, some of these beautiful individuals have been working with me for a long time, and what they're looking for is to be leaders. Though that's the niche, basically. I work with people who want to be self-led and want to be leaders in their place of work, in their community, in their family, right? So they're looking for expansion in that corporation, in that company, so that they don't get stuck. So there's always room for growth. So some of those people, what I help them achieve is to open their minds to, some of them have been at the same company for 15 years. Hey, if you're not growing there, speak to your boss, tell them what your vision is, that you have these ideas that you want to grow there. It's not even about money necessarily, right? And so they're having these high-level conversations. And then if that's going nowhere, open your eyes, be open to opportunities. It may be another job. It may be another company that you are ready. So I'm always working with people. And to me, leaders are those who do not want to stay where they are, who are interested in growing and expanding and impacting the world. So that's the idea. You might still work for another company. You may not want to be self-employed. And then some of these people also, they want to have a side business. They have a passion. They still want to work for the company. And at the same time, some of them want to coach and they just want to add that in. Some people do want to completely shift into living life on their own terms, in terms of, living life on your own terms. Some people choose to have that structure. That's the same thing. If you're not choosing it and you're just afraid, there's an employee mindset sometimes that keeps us in those 9 to 5s. Even though we don't really want to be, there's a safety in getting that paycheck. When you're living life on your own terms, you're self-employed, you know how this is. I don't know what's coming. I don't even know if somebody's going to stop a payment. So I'm living in unpredictability, but I've learned that this lets me be in my vision of greatness now. It lets me know that's what I'm doing versus the conditioning and the programming of the past, when you're on the hamster wheel and do the same thing every single day in survival mode versus thriver mode, right? So each client is completely, I look at them from an objective standpoint, but subjectively, meaning what works for me and what I want has nothing to do with what works for you and what you want. So I make sure I ask them, what do you really want to achieve? And some don't always know. So, okay, right now, if you could imagine your best life, and if they say to me, not going to work and having a schedule and being able to do whatever I want, then I say, we need to create this vision that you're working for yourself, because that's really what you want. So I get to the real desire that they, not just, some people can't imagine, but if you were to imagine, I get them to actually think beyond what they even thought was possible. And that's the beginning of the change. But everyone who I'm working with in my leadership program right now, they're all open for expansion. So everyone's opening to limitless potential, opportunity, leveling up in their place of work, on the side, out of their place of work. And a lot of people do want to get out of the 9 to 5, but some of the most incredible people I'm working with, they're making such an impact where they are, and they're getting free training and free education and free this, that, right in the place of work where they're being paid. So it makes sense to be there right now. And at some point, right, they know that they're going to have another opportunity that will, when you grow, there's outgrowth. So what happens is naturally you outgrow a position, you outgrow a job when you grow into higher planes and echelons of life. So does that make sense? I honor the person and their nature and what works best for them. And not everyone is meant to be self-employed and work on their own. But if that's what you really want, then I will help you believe that that's possible first and foremost. And then it opens up for the inspired actions to take that get you there.
No, I think it's a very different way of looking at it. And actually, I'm really glad that you've just, talked me through that situation, because what I end up hearing from that is that actually there's a different type of freedom that's available. And it's a freedom of constant growth. If you're open to that, yes, you may be in a 9 to 5, but if you are someone who gets their freedom from being in a position where they can continue to grow, then that in itself is a type of freedom that is absolutely valid and what some people will look for in their lives. It's not something that I'd necessarily considered in quite the same way before, but now the way that you've explained it, the way that you work with your clients, I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, time, yeah, money, location, relationship freedom to grow. Okay, now that's a slightly different one, but it's interesting and enabling people to, I guess, understand that that is still a type of freedom. If you're an employee and you feel weighed down and you don't have that room to grow, okay, that's when the negative thoughts set in and everything else. But if you can realize in yourself that actually growth is something that you want for yourself, and that is a measure of freedom, and identifying those opportunities where you can continue to grow and you pursue those, then yes, you can achieve that level of freedom. So I appreciate you giving me that as growth as another type of freedom.
Yes. And it's amazing because actually one of my clients, I'll just share this quick story because it's the perfect example. She went to college to get a very specific job. And she thought, this is the job I want for the rest of my life. First of all, that's limiting when you say, this is what, it makes you feel safe to know, okay, I'll have this and this is it. And she knew that because she wants to grow. So we've been working together for a couple of years. And I remember her coming to me and saying, I am in this place. I am in a major struggle. I love my job, because she got the job. She landed it. She absolutely loved it. But the problem was there was no room for her growth. There's no room for her to change anything in that job. And it was very stressful, and it didn't give her a lot of time and energy for the things she wanted to build with her partner and the home they want to have and the travel that they want to do, etc. And she couldn't grow financially. There was no way to even financially increase what she was earning, no matter what. That job was just that job, and it was staying the same. And it was really hard for her because she loved it so much. But because she believed she was worthy of the growth, of the abundance, of the life that she's dreaming of, she had to open herself. And I said, let's just start with this. Do you think it's possible? Do you just think it might be possible that in this vast world and universe that there could potentially be at least one other job that you absolutely love, that you have more time in, and that you make more money in? Do you think that's possible? And she said, yes. And as soon as she did, she opened her little eyes to look, and a job came in almost instantly of a coaching. She wants to coach. She wants to help people, where she could work in the same type of environment, just a different location, basically, make more money. And half the time she gets to work at home. Her hours are completely different and it's not stressful anymore. So now she's making more money. She's coaching. She has more time. And that's what I call the bridge for people who want to really be self-employed. There's a bridge from where you are. This is her bridge. She's learning how to coach. She's even getting other random coaching from this position, right? So she's building the confidence. She's letting herself know, I can really do this. She has more free time. There's a little bit more money coming in. And now she's coming to me saying, okay, I'm ready for the next step. Like, I believe that I can do this. I'm getting affirmations and I'm ready to get more coaching clients. So lots of my clients, they utilize me to help them get to that bridge that's going to catapult them into the self-employment, because you don't just build your own business overnight, right? You build it as you're living. And then it's like, at some point, hey, I can't even keep this other job up because I've got all these clients. And the demand now is, I want to put my time and energy into that. And so you outgrow this bridge that you were on. So can you see the sort of evolution there?
Yeah, but absolutely. I think it's people taking that time and I guess that moment to open their eyes. Yes. That's the key thing, is once you do that, the opportunities that may be in front of you, the limiting beliefs that may be holding you back, once you open your eyes and you recognize those things, then you're in an empowered position to make changes.
And that's huge, because when you open your eyes, everything's going to come to the surface to be released that isn't serving you anymore. And that doesn't feel good. You want to push that down. You're like, ooh, this is sticky. Lots of my clients, we call it the messy middle, growing pains. But it's such a beautiful process. So you're going to need someone there. You're going to need community. That's why I've got this community. That's why I have my own community. I have my own mentors and I'm collaborating with them and co-creating. Then I've got the community that I'm helping lift up as well and working with, because you've got to be around this level of support and encouragement. We're all going through this all day. We're just releasing what's in the way of our highest good, of our greatest, potential, of that vision of greatness. And so when you're not the only one going through the discomfort of growth, it feels normal. I actually normalize discomfort. I don't even call it discomfort anymore. It's just embracing the process of your transformation. That's all that it is. People say it's so hard and it's such a struggle. It's like, wait, is it? Or is this just the experience that comes with our beautiful growth? So when I embrace it, I cry every time, because I'm like, thank you. Thank you for allowing this to be released, because I know that it's holding me back and I no longer want it to. So I am wide open, and my clients and I were all discussing this. We've got different channels where we can share all of this that's going on, because then it lets you know, wow, I'm not alone. And this is actually a normal part of the process. This is a beautiful part of the process. So I will say to anyone listening that once you open your eyes and you wake up to your dreams, that they can be a reality, all the stuff from all your entire past that has been keeping you from that is going to be knocking at the door, because your body doesn't understand now what you're doing. They're saying, wait, don't we want to stay small? Don't we want to stay anxious and worried and in this little limiting container over here? Isn't that where we live for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years? And so it's going to be kicking and screaming. And you just have to say, I'm changing my entire mindset, my entire brain. Neuroplasticity lets us know that we can literally change our DNA, for God's sakes. So once you decide, I'm opening my eyes and I'm going to allow whatever isn't serving me to be released, you have to let your body know that it's okay. I don't need to protect. I don't need to go into survival mode. This is safe. Even though it doesn't feel that way, I'm safe. Because if you go back into the survival mode, you basically shut down your ability to grow. You can't grow in protective mode because your entire brain is basically thinking that you're being chased, by the boogeyman, and you need to run your little tail off. So all your energy is, you can't grow from that place. You can't transform. So that's why I don't even call it struggle or pain anymore, because that signals my body, wait, is there pain? Is there struggle? Should we get away from this? Should we run? Should we protect? I'm embracing letting go. I'm releasing temptations, or in Sanskrit, their mental impressions are called samskaras, traumas, dramas, things from the past that you keep reliving over and over. I'm letting go. I'm opening up those trap doors, as Dr. Sue Morter would say, in the energy code. So, then when everyone else is releasing and growing, it's like a celebration. It's actually becoming playful and fun. And we're like, oh, I just had a great cry and I let go of this thing from the past. It's like, yay. Everybody's like, awesome. So it's not draining, and it's not like, oh, so hard and I don't have to go through this all the time. It's really like, I can't wait for the next thing to just be released. I call that in every single day of my life.
Amazing. Yeah. It's inspiring to hear you, and obviously the journey that you've been on, the position that you're at now, and how you're helping people. Conscious running out of time here. We've been having an amazing chat. So any closing thoughts that you would want to share with the listeners, and how can people get in contact with you? How can they follow you? How can they support you? Learn more about your community.
Absolutely. I would just really love to say I'm no like different. I'm just a human being as you are, right? As everybody is. And I don't put myself on a pedestal. I'm not, there's no hierarchy. I'm not better than anyone. If there's something that you see and you're thinking, well, I can't have that or achieve that, that's the limiting factor right there. I just got rid of that. And so can you. And so I truly believe that I believe in you. And once someone believes in themselves and then says, I believe that I can help myself, and I also believe in help that's outside of me, that's the winning combination. So I will say, you're not really meant to do this alone. You don't have to do it alone. I certainly don't do it. I put in the effort. No one can make me do the actions, right? Those I do on my own, but they're all inspired because of the energy that I choose to be around. So there are so many ways to be around the energy of me and my community. And if I did just really refine my website, so everything is there. It's CarenPaskel.com, and you will see the elements of the foundation, the nonprofit, a way to donate to that if you want to. You will see all the courses, self-evolution. I've got a little, the yoga I have in person if you're here, but it's virtual, so anyone can join that, and the memberships, and a private Facebook group that I have. It's actually public. You will have to ask to join. I will let you in. And it's called Self-Evolution Forum. And that's where I give not only one masterclass a month and a community support call, but also there's a self-development study group that I host. So there's 3 free events that are live stream in that group. And I let everybody know what's going on. I've got a luxury retreat happening in Costa Rica. There's one more spot in March, all on my website, and all my information, like my number, my phone number is there. Please email me, cmp@CarenPaskel.com. I'm very humble. I read my emails. I will respond to you. There's not this assistant that's like, she will get to you in 6 days. Like, I will respond in 24 hours. Leave me a Facebook message. I'm very accessible and approachable. So thank you so much for having me. This has been incredible. I feel so honored to be here, really.